fact, he's about the best tree dog that I'd had around up in that way. I didn't have many dogs, I had a few beagles. But I
Well, you
wasn't,
take a dog like that's been a squirrel dog, and a hound is. Take a good hound, you know, in the squirrel business. He took good to trim, but he attracts you. You can hear him barking all over the gun, and every squirrel is going home. It'll take a little dog like that. He don't say nothing until he gets to the tree and tell you where he's at.
Yeah.
And I'm scared of squirrels like a big dog barking. You know.
oh yeah. An old mountain man back in there above home told me how to train that little old dog.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you how he told me, and I want you to see if he's pretty well. But the dog turned out right. I couldn't complain about the way the dog turned out.
Yeah.
That fella told me, he says, now when you go in the woods with that dog, he says, don't kill that squirrel. He says, bark it. Shoot there and right under him and knock him off of that tree, or wound him enough to where it gets him on the ground, and let that dog and that squirrel fight. And that dog is going to try to whoop that squirrel if he can. If it's a big squirrel, he's going to have time on his hands. Well, I done that, Press. I got lucky. I took a dog back in the swamp and up in there, and I got lucky, and I found me a squirrel, and I shot and just crippled him just a little bit. And that squirrel hit the ground, and that dog and that squirrel fought, I bet you 15 minutes. They was in the branch, and they was back out on the lane, and the dog finally got it.
Yeah.
But from then on, I didn't have no problem with that dog.
No, that's a good way. You always let one catch him and let him fight it out.
Yeah.
And it seems like the more you fight, the better your dog gets.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, like a lot of people, it's too big a carry to fight.
Well, you're going to find out what kind of dog you got, ain't
you? You'll find out in the hounds, a lot of them now wouldn't have done that squirrel.
No.
Wouldn't have did it. Hound dog.
Boy,
I had a hound one time and caught a squirrel, and the squirrel bit it, and you know, I never get that blamed dog to take a hold of the squirrel and was dead there living.
Is that right?
Oh,
well, that little vice, that squirrel nailed that little vice inside of the lip.
Yeah.
And hung on, and that vice had himself a time shaking that squirrel loose. But you know, that never stopped him. So I figured right then that little dog would be all right.
They just natured to fight.
Yeah.
That breed of dogs is that's their nature to fight.
I got that dog from Uncle Z, from his bunch of little vice dogs he had over there.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to make a squirrel dog out of it, because I like squirrel hunt pretty good.
Yeah.
Dot's daddy, my daddy-in-law, he'd let me go with him a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And he was an old mountain man, as a squirrel hunter that wouldn't quit too. He shot him through the head. He didn't, yeah. When he was a little single shot 22.
That's the way I try to get in a hunter with a rifle.
You mess up the meat if you shoot him through the body, don't you?
Well, you just tie him all pieces with a bullet.
Yeah. But I never thought about climbing them trees like you were talking about, and nailing them squirrels.
Come out and just grab him, you know.
You have to be careful. Boy, them squirrels can eat your hands off, can't you?
Oh, yeah, but you had to be, that's what I said. I've always been quick. Maybe.
Don't lose your nerve.
No, when I'm most scared to grab him, and I wouldn't pick up and pull a stick out.
Yeah.
I'm not from anyone in the head on the side of the tree up.
Drop him to the ground.
Drop him down, Clarence, and get him.
Yeah.
We always have a dog with.
Well, your dog was trained, once they killed a squirrel or a rabbit or something, they drop it, wouldn't they? Wouldn't,
yeah.
They wouldn't fight over it and eat it?
They wouldn't fight over it, and they wouldn't eat it. No. Yeah.
You know, I've seen people have dogs that you wouldn't dare.
I'll tell you, I got it when I've hunted with people that had dogs, and if it had been my dog, I believe it would have just shot them. If they caught a rabbit and he got it, he had gone with it, and that's Clarence had one himself. If he ever got a hold of a rabbit, that fool would run and get away and eat it. You never get it back.
That dog ain't no good, you know.
I've been so mad at him, I peppered his tail.
Shot him and peppered his tail good, dog. But you know it ain't gonna break him, is it?
No.
Dog like that.
But I've been so mad because I didn't want the rabbit, but I didn't hate to see him taking over like that.
Yeah.
Oh, while I was living down here, I had, I think, about 6 dogs. And man, I had some good ones then. gonna tell you, I go hunting with him, and I could shoot a rabbit, or if you'd have been around me, you could shoot a rabbit. That dog was the first in doing it. If he wasn't, he'd be the second. And he'd take that lame rabbit away from every dog that was there, and bring that rabbit to me. He'd bring it, come to me, and drop it at my feet. He wouldn't run off. He'd bring it right to you and drop it at your feet, just like a bird dog would for you.
That's a good dog, Bobby.
Oh yeah. I got out and decided I'd get him, and I sold him to a colored fella in Harmony.
Speaking of colored fellas, was there many colored people that lived in this territory up in here when you was growing up, Fred?
Wasn't none.
Wasn't none.
No, I'm not looking for any colored people come in this neighborhood. There wasn't none lived around here. Oh, there's an old fella, Charlie Dobbins up there. There's an old house back from, you might say, go right back this way on the Llewellyn place from where Max already store. There's an old house with a wall with it. Old colored fella lived, and that's about all there was anywhere.
In the territory.
Yeah. Old man. Charlie Dobbins.
They was probably people that had been freed from slave days, wasn't it?
Yeah. Old. Slave people. There has been many colored people in this neighborhood in here.
Right down yonder on 21, they call, what, Carson Town? That's about as close a place this side of Harmony, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's many colored people around.
That's about the closest place that there was, and when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Our Carson down. That dog I was telling you about, you know, meanwhile I was hunting and catching the 3 and 10 possum. I sold him when he was about a year old to Carl Downs. You know Carl, I guess. Here in July, lived down at Harmony, a cow buyer. Carl Downs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. It took me a while to figure it out. It's been a long time ago.
He was a one-man dog to start with at a time. Him and Jim Sharp. I guess you see Jim Sharp down if you ever go down by Farm Center, you see one-legged man.
Yeah.
Come and got him. Jim was scared to get out of the ramp. And he wanted to buy him. I'd had him a 3 and possum. Good. Finally he said, I'll give you $60 for him. I said, but no, I had over here. All right, I said, well, I'll let you have him. So, dog was with me home. They loaded him home. Carried him home, wrote me out a check card, it was $60. And next night, Carl waked me up down here. I don't know if I'd see anything on my dog. And of course, I'm satisfied with what happened. He took him home, put him in the lot, and said he got out and he didn't how in the world, he couldn't find no place. And he got out, and I said he's gone. Well, I could see through that just right then. When he took that dog in down there, some blame niggers went to steal the dog and opened the gate and he run out and he was gone. That was the last of the dog.
Yeah.
I told Carl, that's what's happened. He said he had never thought of that. But you know, about 10 days, he come in down there at Charlie's and scratched on the door.
Come home, man.
My dog did. Come home.
What'd you do? Call the man, tell him to come get him?
No, I didn't. When he got back, it hurt Ruby. She thought as much time as I did.
Yeah.
Whenever, just like you would make a pot of coffee, pour you a cup of coffee, and if you want sweetened coffee, why you put your sugar in. But if you want sweetened tea, you just put your sugar in to suit your taste. You don't in your tea.
There's another kind of tea, I believe you said that y'all...
Spicewood.
Spicewood.
Yeah.
Go out in the woods and get...
Go to the swamp and get spicewood and break it up, put it in the kettle, and do the same way. Just boil it till it gets the strength out of what you got in there, and then pour it out sweet.
That spicewood, I guess, grew most of the time in the swamp, better than it did up on the highland.
Yeah, it grew in the swamp, close to the swamp. Yeah. There's a lot of it. Over on Jim Parks' place down in the swamp over Branch, just plenty of it. And on Thomason's place, where Charlie Johnson's place used to be down in that swamp, just plenty of it.
Yeah. I guess back when you was growing up, there wasn't no such thing as a Pepsi-Cola or a Coca-Cola or a soda pop, was it?
No, sir. No, sir, there wasn't no such thing. I can remember first drinks that ever I can remember. They run a post office back over a little store at Buckshaw, that little store there, and they come out and they got a whole drink. Something the way I just a kid, I can't remember, but I can remember about it. And that's the first drink they had. And it was, I don't guess I could hardly tell you, but had a stopper and a wire to it, something like that. And it looked like, just to look at it, it put that stopper in there, put your drink in there, and then pull it out.
Uh-huh.
Please putting the stopper down like that, just a wire, hook your finger in it like that. When you don't drink that, you know, you just knock that stopper back down your drink. That's the first drinks I ever see in bottles.
Uh-huh. What would it cost you, remember?
I don't remember what it cost. I don't remember the price, how they sold it. Because I was just a kid then.
Yeah. Well, now, your coffee, did you go to the store and bought your coffee, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, did you buy it in a bean, or was it already ground?
Bought it green.
In a bean?
Yeah, green.
Green?
Green. You bought your coffee green, took it home, parched it like parching corn.
Oh, you had to parch it yourself?
Yes, sir. You had to parch it yourself.
And then grind it?
And then grind it.
How about that?
I can remember, you may think I'm a lying, not,
No.
but I can remember, you know, back when I was just a little fella, the coffee mill was scarce. Some people, you know, wasn't able to afford a coffee mill. They beat the coffee, put in a rag and beat it up and then put it in.
Uh-huh. Just pound on it, wouldn't it? Put it in a rag or a sack or something and pound on it.
Beat on it, beat it up, you know.
Yeah. I bet it's pretty stout, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I'll tell you, that's the old time. If somebody, everybody and his brothers, they couldn't just naturally parch coffee like it ought to be, you know. You take somebody that could parch coffee, good and all. When you got you a cup of that coffee, you had a cup of coffee, all right, it's good.
It tasted good.
Yeah.
I guess you parch it like we would parch peanuts, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just put it in a skillet and or parch just big corn. I parched them in every year. A big corn, you know, shell it open, parch me a skillet full of corn like that. But stir on the fireplace when I was growing up. Get you a stick, you know, and you just keep it stirred. Get it hot, just keep it stirred. And that's the way they parch the coffee. You keep it stirred like that.
I guess those that done good parching it paid attention to it, didn't they, and stayed after it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, when they parched it, they paid attention. Just as much attention to parching a skillet of coffee as you would put you on a pan of biscuits and look at them and keep them burning.
Yeah.
Had to. If you didn't, you scorched that coffee and it wasn't good.
I had a feller tell me about making some liquor one time, and he said that they scorched it, and he said it just wasn't worth nothing. He said they had a time getting rid of it.
I know what you're talking about if I tried to drink something. Or liquor, I tried to drink.
Pretty mean going, I guess, ain't it?
Oh, good Lord. He is mean going.
Did you ever have any popcorn when you was growing up? Something called popcorn like we'd have now?
I can remember popcorn ever since I can recollect.
Oh, I just wondered if they had it back then, like, you know, if you had it.
Ever since I could recollect. My daddy, when I was just a kid, he loved popcorn, and all us young did. I remember he popcorn, and we had a skillet, about a 10-inch skillet, I think it was, about that deep, 4 legs on it, and a lead, and he'd parch popcorn in that skillet on the coals on the hearth, and he'd haul off the parts and parch up about a peck of it, and man, we ate popcorn when I was just.
A bunch of you kids around eating on that stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and my daddy could eat a lot of it too back in them days. He loved his popcorn.
I believe I remember you telling me the other day about the best meal you ever had. What was that? Was sassafras tea and cornbread?
Short and cornbread.
Sassafras tea and cornbread.
Yeah, and it just as good with your spice wood as it was sassafras tea and spicewood tea.
Yeah. And a big old hunk of cornbread.
Yeah.
Now, your
now,
cornbread.
Some people would, that tea you're talking about, sassafras and spicewood too, was like, usually sort of in the way you do coffee now. They'd pour them a little milk in that tea. Some people did.
Flavored a little different, I guess.
They just liked it with tea, and I mean with a little milk in it, you know, to sweeten it, and then they put a little milk in, like you would put a little milk in your coffee, you know.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Now, to get your cornmeal, you'd take corn down to a mill on the creek somewhere and get them to grind it.
Yeah.
Old stone wheel, I guess.
Yeah.
And that'd grind your flour too down there, wouldn't it? Or would
Yeah.
it? Or did you have a lot of flour? You didn't have much flour, did you, at that time?
Well, not too much like you would now, because you didn't make wheat like you did now. Yeah, you go, you know, you take over where I told you that mill is at.
Yeah.
They had what they call the burr mill, you know. They grind wheat and bowl it and everything. Separate the shorts from the flour and all. And over here at Baber's Mill, that was back when I was a boy. It was what they call a burr mill, and they ground wheat, and bowled it, and sifted the flour.
But cornbread was your main bread, wasn't it?
That was the main bread. And back then, there was more cornbread eating than there was wheat bread, because you'd raise and have more corn you could wheat.
Yeah. Well, Press, whenever you got sick back then, you didn't get a chance to go to the doctor like you would now, would you? You'd have to about cure yourself?
Lord, no, the home remedies, Lord. Home remedies.
Do you remember any of those old home remedies they had that your mama used?
Well, some of them, I remember a few of them used. Not all. Give you something like castor oil, or if you got sick, take a bad cold, you'd make you ginger tea and give you, like God, I didn't. I'd about eat, I guess I was between 8 and 9, maybe 9 years old. And the cow stepped on my toe right there and cut it off.
And cut it off?
Yeah. And I never even see the doctor while my toe was healing up.
I guess you was barefooted at the time, wasn't you?
Yeah, I was barefooted at the time. Just back when. She
just mashed that toe right off, didn't it?
Just cut it off, same as you'd cut off, put a set of cold shit or something on it right there, and cut it off. Never even my big toe. Used to call this my big toe, and next to it. Never even skinned that, and that But they cut my toe off here next to the big toe. Just cut it off. That cow did. I'd been to water the cow. I was big enough, you know, to get out and carry the cows. I'd get out and turn them loose, and I watched them, and then when watering time, come take them water and bring them up to the house in town.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Yeah.
And,
I've had to do that.
Huh?
I've had to do that when I was a little kid.
Yeah. I went and watered my cow, and it's in August, is when it was, watermill time.
Yeah.
Just before I got to the house, and there's a row of rose bushes and flowers, right, just like you might say, right across out there. Come here. Here, over here is the house, and right here between them, these rose bushes and the house, that's where I started. I got right here, and they'd throw down a watermelon rind. No cow, you know, crazy old watermelon rind.
Yeah.
Well, I stopped, and the cow was eating the watermelon rind. Elmer Kearns, he's over here behind these rose bushes, and he throwed his hat at the cow. And
Uh-huh.
she just left the ground, and when she hit the ground again, hit right on my toe and just whacked it up. Well, I went on, I say, first from here at that corn yonder, right on up by the house, and the wagon sat right in front of us, brought her up and tied her to a wagon wheel, and tied that cow. My toe was stinging a little, and tied that cow. And then I looked at my toe, and by gosh, my toe was gone.
Dang.
Well, I didn't do a thing on it. Went right back to where the cow stepped on my toe,
Uh-huh.
and my toe was laying right there in the cow's track.
Lord, did you tell your mama about it?
Got this all sitting out there in the yard and see it happen. And what happened when I come back and my toe was gone, I was Elmer's mammy, Elmer Kearns. I don't know where you, I don't guess you remember. The first thing she done was grabbed out her chaw tobacco and capped over my toe and hit right out behind what we call the smokehouse and grabbed a handful of ragweeds and hooked them up and come and capped it over with my toe. The chaw tobacco.
Yeah, she chewed tobacco, didn't she?
Huh?
She out with her chew of tobacco?
Yes, sir, right out of her mouth, and that stopped the blood,
Uh-huh.
she said.
Yeah.
And then the ragweed too.
Then she went out there and got a handful of ragweed.
Yeah, rubbed them up and kept them tied up my foot.
And it never got infected or anything, did it?
No. But I kept it, way they treated it from then on. They, after bleeding and all, they made up with brown sugar over there and kept it soaked to begin to heal up with brandy. That's the way it goes.
Soaked it with brandy. That was just pure old alcohol, wasn't it?
Apple brandy.
Apple brandy.
Man, you go buy something good, that was good. That was old copper steel apple brandy. It wasn't that sugar-head brandy.
Yeah.
And you know, I put my toe in a quinine bottle and filled it full of brandy.
Uh-huh.
And I wouldn't have had it gone, but I got it lost, and I don't know what it went up with my toe and everything.
You kept it a long time, I bet, didn't
I did. I kept that toe a long time, but it got gone, and I never knew what went with my bottle and my toe. I got my thumb down at the house now in a bottle of alcohol.
you? And that happened in 1938, didn't it?
Huh?
And you got it cut off in 1938, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you still got your thumb?
11th day of March, 1938. Still got it.
Do you remember any other remedies they had, like a poultice or anything? If you
Oh yeah, they made people back then. When I was growing up, they had a lot of people claim side flourish, as they call it.
Uh-huh.
They'd make a big mustard seed poultice and put it on the side.
Uh-huh.
Like that. This is mustard seed, and then you take well, it's just home remedy of something or other. They use something for you and everything. Castor oil, though, that's what I hit with gold. They give you that when you get sick. It give you castor oil.
Well, when your mother had her children, she didn't have a doctor to come, did she? Did she have anybody to help her? when she was having y'all as children and everything?
Well, you see, back in I growing up, they had what they called a mid-raise back about that time. Had what they called a midwife would go in the place of a doctor.
Well, who was the midwife back then? You remember?
Old Lady Boone.
Boone.
Windsor.
Windsor.
Old Lady Windsor. She is one of them. And there's 2 or 3 over in the neighborhood, I guess. But she was one lived down there where Hughes Journey lived. That's where she lived at that time. That's the old Boone Windsor place.
Uh-huh.
Sally Windsor. Sally Windsor. She was what they call the midwife.
No, I doubt if there's many doctors around in the country.
Wasn't no doctors back then, I reckon. Dr. Summers is the first doctor I remember of.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. Before I was up, you might say, in the teens before I remember Dr. Summers. I was up.
Before you ever seen a doctor, wasn't it?
Yeah. Let's see. Just all home remedies where you got then, so I was up pretty good. Well, and then you didn't, every time you skinned yourself or got sort of sick or something, a little something happened to you, God, they'd use old home remedies. They had Dr. Summers. They didn't go to the doctor every time like somebody go every time he get hurt a little, you know, or feel bad, he go to the doctor. They didn't do that back then. Not a lot grown in it. Well, it ain't been, tell you the truth, it ain't been so many years, if you think about it. It's been longer than you'd think since people got to going every time a little something would hurt them or something going to the doctor. You just think it over, it ain't been so many years.
Now, I can remember when I was a kid that they had Dr. Myers come around. He's out from down around Union Grove and Harmony there. He came up here and took our tonsils out. There was about 4 or 5 of us kids about that age at that time, and in the room there in the house and bedroom, they just laid us out on a table, and he just had a butcher in it. we called it. And it was rare that we'd go to a doctor when I was growing up.
Yeah. Well, the first doctor, I can tell you, the doctor that I went to, after I got up big enough and old enough to go, was Dr. Tribbett. I went to him.
That's the same Dr. Tribbett that had started a little hospital down there outside of Harmony, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was working here for Bob when it happened. Took something wrong, got something wrong right up here in the back of my neck. And I couldn't turn my head, and I hurt so bad I couldn't, and I just quit and went home, and then I went to Dr. Tribbett and got it to get a treatment and to see what it said. And I went to him. He examined me, gave me, you was talking about your tonsil. Looked at my tonsils. That's the main thing I need to do, take my tonsils out. I wouldn't live to be an old man if I didn't have them took out. And but he gave me, and he told me, he said this is up here in the back of my neck and in my shoulders was the rheumatism of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that was. And he gave me a treatment, and he must have known how to help me or something. In about 2 or 3 days, I was back to Sawmill, Bob, just going right on. But you know, I never did go back to get my tonsils cut out. I got my tonsils unless they've rotted and I'll spit them out.
And he told you wasn't going to live to be an old man unless you had them took.
Yes, sir, he said, shortening the days. And my tonsils.
Yeah, that's back around 1916, wasn't it?
17,
1917.
18
You reckon you're going to live to be an old man, Fred?
You know, it may be all right. Some people take out time to feel bother them, but you know, I don't believe much in this here taking something out where it's just like you go down there, you take a piece out of that truck car where I look at it, and your motor ain't gonna run right. It's supposed to be there, ain't it?
I think so. If it's in there, it's supposed to be
But
there.
when you was born and come there, everything is in you. It's supposed to be there. Your tonsils are when you was born, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think you ought to keep them until something happened to them and you do lose them or something.
Yeah.
I don't,
Have to come.
I don't. You take that Tribbett gal down there now, doctor. That's one of Will's girls.
Yeah.
Lucy Tribbett. She had her and took out, you know, and I God, she never see the world day from then on until she did die. At her time, she like to bled to death, and from then on, she just down and out, you know.
Did you ever know anybody back years ago to get snake bit?
Oh yeah.
What would you treat them for when they got snake bit?
Back then, the treatment was then, it's like me and you was out together. You get snake bit, I just take out my knife and split the place and suck out the blood and spit it out. That was the remedy to that die.
As quick as you could.
Quick as you could, suck it out, spit it out.
Everybody kept a sharp knife too, I guess, didn't they?
Oh yeah, you take people back in I was growing up, they prepared for the woods just the same as it was for the house.
Yeah.
That's the only remedy back in that first recollection talking about them getting snake bitten. That's what they done.
Yeah, the reason I asked that y'all going barefooted and everything out in the woods, about 9 months out of the year, you'd bound to run into snakes once in a while, wasn't
Yeah, yeah, you did.
What was your
But now
snake?
you never hardly ever hear tell of anybody getting snake bit.
Yeah. Was the ticks pretty bad back then, or do you remember?
Ticks?
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, they was bad. Yes, sir, the ticks was bad. And they didn't fail to get on you when you got in the woods. Or out. Ticks and bit. Ticks is bad in this country. It's a place that down yonder where I live, right south of where I live, coming out from that old house down there. You could leave that old house and come out a circle and coming up here to Charlotte. And I'll say 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the time you got from that old house and through this patch of shade, the path, you'd be covered up in ticks.
Whereas if you went somewhere else, they wouldn't bother you that bad. Is that right?
That's right. Just right through there.
Yeah.
I tell you what I've done, and I can prove this now. I was working over on the hill just to the side of that house. I just stopped and went through the house. I believe I went to house. I forget what I went to, but I was working with Charlie. I went to the house, come right through there and got up out the milk shed. And ticks, I went to catching ticks. Well, I stopped there with that cement and just catch and kill her on that cement. 50-some ticks. And I didn't feel near nothing. Well, I got up there and went on up to the house. Whatever went after to tell Ruby to get Ruby. And you know, she says to me, she says, Press says, where in the world you been? I said, I come through. Oh, Lord, says, I know what you mean. And she turned up my shirt collar, and I finished up and wind up, I had 80 ticks on me. Now, Bob, if you don't believe this, Ruby Parks is living.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it.
80?
It's on my leg. There's even on my hand. And just, I stopped and I counted them. You can count them yourself. Where I cracked them on the rockers, I take them off on that cement in the door. It goes in. There was 80 ticks on me. What I got there and what I went on up there.
I wonder you hadn't got spotted fever, wasn't
Yeah. But you know I never did worry about that fever, didn't I?
you? You didn't worry. Arthur Campbell's daughter died from that, didn't
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, they claimed that for it.
you're sure lucky in a way, or something happened.
Well, I tell you what I believe about that. It ain't all these ticks that you see and get on you will give you the spotted fever to bite you. You need
just a certain kind.
a certain kind. If it takes you, it takes you.
Did you ever hear tell of any old panthers, they called it back, old big wildcats back in your day?
I hear the old people talk about it. I hear the old people talk about panthers and wolves, I believe they call it. But I don't remember none of them myself, but I've heard my daddy and mammy talk about panthers and wolves.
Well, and you're out hunting and everything, you would have run across them if they'd have been there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And your dogs and all of that, the way you kept dogs, good dogs to run and hunt, you'd have struck track, wouldn't you?
Back in their young days, they said there was panthers.
Yeah.
I hear my mammy tell that back when she was growing up in I can't think of his given name, but some of her people, he's a Fanoy. He'd been to a party, he played the fiddle, and he'd been to a party, they said, and he's going home and he decided to just lay down and take him a nap. And he laid down and took him a nap, and the panthers found him. And they said, now I'm telling you, I ain't telling you, I ain't never seen this, I just telling you what they said.
Yeah.
It covered him up, just one, you know, and he went off and it got off from him the way they said they done, and howled, you know, and the whole crowd come in. But while he was off howling and around, he waked up this fella.
Yeah. And
he knew what he was doing, and said that he got up from there and climbed a tree. He'd hear it, you know, just about how they do. He got up and climbed a tree and said, behold, here come the whole gang. And he was up that tree. She said,